I've been playing Ghost of Yotei for a week now, and here are my first impressions. So I'm always cautious, very, very cautious about sequels. I think they can build on the original, they can make it sing. I mean, I'm looking at you, Red Dead 2, right? Or they can try to innovate so hard that they just fall flat on their cinematic faces. We've seen it all. Think of Mass Effect, Andromeda, think of Diablo Immortal, Overwatch 2, all promising bold new frontiers, and they all end up with the same mantra of like, we swear this gets better after the third patch. Thankfully, Ghost of Yotei, it doesn't suffer that fate. Sucker Punch, they didn't feel the need to reinvent the katana. They just sharpened it. That was smooth. Instead of chasing trends or turning Jin into like a live service loot goblin, they've doubled down on what made Ghost of Tsushima so good in the first place. You've got this beautiful open world exploration, which for me personally is peak gaming. Cinematic sword fights and vibes so strong. You can practically smell the rain on the bamboo. Tsushima, it took its time to draw you in as well. I do think people kind of forget that. It was quite low stakes early on, particularly as you're getting to know Jin. And Yotei, I feel anyway, it kind of follows the same rhythm. It eases you in before slicing you apart emotionally. Now, this isn't the kind of sequel that waves its arms around shouting like, look, we've changed everything. It kind of just calmly unsheathes its blade and says, hey, we've made things better. Every shot, I kid you not, is pure art, right? It's like someone has turned every single scene into like a perfect screensaver. I watched a bit of gameplay and I'm like, do I play lo-fi? Do I play it on hard? How am I approaching this? So currently, as we speak now, when this will be released, when I upload this, I don't know. But currently I'm playing on hard. It does legitimately feel like a movie. Sometimes I just stop moving and I stand there watching the wind blow through the grass like I'm in Gladiator. And I just think this is bloody cool. The combat is really, really slick. It has this way of kind of making you feel like you've spent your whole life just training for this moment. It's weighty. It's definitely quite fluid as well. It's kind of just the right amount of violent. And you're not button bashing. You're performing poetry, but with edge weapons. It's kind of like a system that makes other games swordplay looks like two toddlers fighting with pool noodles, although that used to be fun, right? Story-wise, I've seen people are on the fence. Some people are saying this, the story's not as the character arc and the story, they don't compare. I feel like it does dig a little deeper. It's kind of less like big war epic. It's going more down the route of personal vengeance with emotional baggage. It's definitely more human. It's tragic. You are probably going to whisper for at least once while trying not to cry in photo mode. So, Ghost of Yotei, it doesn't try to revolutionize gaming in any sense. I think it just perfects what it already mastered. Think The Witcher 3 after The Witcher 2, not Cyberpunk 2027's launch day meltdown. It's refinement over reinvention. The kind of confident sequel that says, we know what we're doing, now sit down and enjoy this artistry. Now, I can't put this game down. Every time I think, yep, one more quest. And then it's the early hours of the morning and I'm dueling someone under a waterfall with some like lo-fi music just vibing in the background. Don't know why I'm at a jazz club. I'm not mad about it. So let's talk about it, shall we? I want to start off by saying it's beautiful. Like, I'm going to pause this game and just stare at the scenery. Levels of beautiful. Like I mentioned just now, every frame is a wallpaper. The flower fields alone, they make Elden Ring look like it's been through a rough night out. And while the landscapes are the showpiece, it's the new protagonist Atsu who actually gives the game a personality. See, Tsushima's Jin was fine, right? He was stoic, brooding, honourable. Basically that walking samurai recruitment poster. Good lad, but about as emotionally expressive as a vending machine. Atsu, though, a whole different vibe. She's fiery, she's impulsive, she charges into fights like she's auditioning for John Bloody Wick. Half the time you're thinking, go on, girl. And the other half, like, please, just bloody calm down. I just think the acting for this, it really brings out that perfect sort of mix of rage and charm and unfiltered chaos. And Atsu, she just feels rough around the edges in the best way. At times, she made me think that Ellie from The Last of Us and Kratos met as adults, obviously, and started a family. And Jack Sparrow was like the godfather to the child. I don't know where I'm going. Anyway, she's not the noble, like, silent hero type. She's the stab first and then reflect on morality later kind of gal. And it works. I think it has to be said, though, that I just feel like I'm in love with this game. I think, I mean, I've barely touched the main story. The open world is phenomenal. It's perfect for me. I love open world gaming. The combat is amazing. And Atsu, like I said, hardened mercenary vibe, still cares for the weak and the stray animal. She's morally grey. She's layered. Really fun to play. The story itself, from what I've played so far, is kind of by the numbers range saga, sure, but it's the kind of story that it's got all of the right guilty pleasure buttons. So she's basically out to kill the Yotei Six, who are basically like a gang of outlaw samurai. Now, they're led by this guy who is basically what you'd get if you like had Scar from The Lion King and then Tywin Lannister, and they kind of, where am I going? Anyway, these guys, they killed her family, and they generally behave just like total weapons. You hate them instantly, which is great because the game doesn't, I think, give them enough time to earn nuance anyway. So this part was really important. The pacing is kind of mixed. There's a few, for me anyway, too many like epic showdown setups. And I did find myself a lot of the time like being like, Atsu, love, please just don't let them finish their speeches. Like, just stop, just shut them up, please. The emotional core, it does work because Atsu's a car crash that you can't look away from. She's flawed, she's furious, she's human. I feel like I've ranted about her for a little bit too much now. But essentially, yeah, you've got another revenge story, but with sharper writing, better banter, and a protagonist who just feels like she starts a bar fight over the last bowl of ramen. And honestly, I respect that energy. Now, it's not to say that Ghost of Yotei doesn't have its moments. There's a few mid-game twists that really did catch me off guard. I say mid-game, I'm like a quarter of the way through. Quarter game twists? Anyway, catching me off guard is rare these days. I've played enough games to spot a betrayal coming from orbit, but this one managed to slip through the radar. There are even a couple of emotional, like, gut punches sprinkled in, the kind that make you sit there in silence, pretending that there's something in your eye. I promise it's in my eye. While the soundtrack goes like full-on tragic flute and you're trying to keep it all together. So for me, for my brain, it's kind of like playing, like, you know, that TikToks of that trending sound where it's like, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy. That's me. Like every few minutes, I'm getting distracted. I am distracted by another event or another duel or another random weirdo just asking for help. And now the exploration, it feels so much more natural, and it's really, really awesome to sort of to see how the smaller events you come across, they do sort of connect into the main narrative. Atsu's got like a few traveling companions. They're surprisingly decent company. Sometimes you kind of wish that you could just take the sword away from her and just say, girl, go give yourself a nap. But if I move on from that and talk about the combat slightly, because that's kind of where Yotei flexes hardest for me anyway. I think few open world games make me clear the map for fun. Most of them make me feel like I'm doing unpaid admin. But Yotei, I was riding from one random skirmish to another, like someone who's just discovered cardio, but through murder. These fights, they were so slick. They could have been sponsored by WD-40. Wow. That was a joke. Somebody clip that. Anyway, there's this perfect rhythm to it. Every swing, every dodge, every parry, it kind of connects like it's part of some cosmic samurai choreography. The weapons they hit with just the right amount of like, oof, just to make you wince and smile at the same time. There's no lock-on, which occasionally leads to like stabbing air molecules instead of enemies. But honestly, it's really fun. It keeps things unpredictable. 1 minute you're having a graceful duel and the next you're carving up local shrubbery like it owes you money, right? But what really sells it is the arsenal of gadgets and techniques. There's so much to play with that you'll just spend half your fights forgetting like me, what any of the buttons do, and the other half feeling like an unstoppable samurai demigod. When it all clicks, you don't feel like you're playing a game. You do feel like you're the star of like this new movie. Like, honestly, the story is not, it's not rewriting Shakespeare anytime soon. Honestly, who gives a shit? You're not here for plot depth. You're here to like look effortlessly cool while turning bad guys into confetti. And in that regard, Ghost of Yotei absolutely nails it. So if you remember how Jin, obviously from Tsushima, had all those fancy sword stances, what was it, stone, water, wind, etc. Atsu took one look at that and was like, that's cute. I'm going to carry everything. She's like the samurai equivalent of someone who refuses to specialize in an RPG and just dumps points into yes. Now, if we go down the complaint route, I kind of wish the transition from one blade to two and vice versa actually connected. The animations treat them as like separate weapons entirely, even though you're just putting one away and pulling two out. That could sound suspicious. Anyway, that, and I wish switching weapons didn't automatically draw your blade. Unless I'm doing it wrong. Somebody comment. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. It's very minor. Would it make it more immersive if it was tweaked? Potentially. Anyway, she's obviously got classic katana for when you're feeling cinematic, a spear for socially distanced murder, and a pair of dual blades for when you want to like roleplay Dante from Devil May Cry. But the real star here is the kusarigama, the chained sickle. Basically this murder yo-yo straight out of Mortal Kombat. You can yank enemies towards you like scorpions screaming, "Get over here!" Sweet crowds like you're auditioning for Dynasty Warriors 27 and shred shields faster than Link on caffeine. Every weapon feels different too. So when you switch mid-combo, it's kind of like flicking between characters in Smash Bros, but with more screaming. There's this rock, paper, scissors kind of logic to it all. Big sword beats heavy lad, chain beats crowd, spear beats everyone who values their kneecaps. It's tactical, but it's not tactical in a spreadsheet simulator way. Now, when you finally nail the flow, like me, it might have taken you a while. Sickle swing roll, the finisher, Atsu, she looks like she's earned a slot in like Avengers, but make it feudal edition. And because Yotei is set in like the early 1600s, firearms are a thing now, and Atsu, bless her, she gives zero tosses about honor. The musket hits like the BFG from Doom, but reloads like it's being patched by Bethesda. While the flintlock pistol is great for up close Han Solo shot first moments. Every time you fire it, you can practically hear Bloodborne whisper, "Come back to us." And then there's your Batman utility belt. You've got smoke bombs, you've got Metsubushi dust, which is basically medieval tear gas, and a flame attachment that turns your sword into Stormbringer on fire. And then, I mean, at this point, you're less samurai and more walking monster hunter loadout. You've got so many gadgets going off that it kind of feels like just constant clanging smoke and yelling, but it's still fun. What makes it brilliant, whether you're clearing an entire camp or squaring off in a tense duel, Yotei's combat gives you that perfect illusion of mastery. You're kind of sure that you look like a god of war, but deep down, you know, it's like 60% panic and 40% button look. And honestly, for me, peak gaming. Stealth is still kicking around in Ghost of Yotei. It's not exactly like rewriting the ninja handbook. You've got your tall grass, your conveniently clueless guards and enemies with all the spatial awareness of a stormtrooper in a blackout. You know the drill. Crouch, whistle, stab, repeat. That said, when it works, it really does work. Pulling off a triple assassination still hits like an endorphin grenade. There is something deeply satisfying about yanking an unsuspecting bloke across the field and skewering him like a shish kebab. Anyway, Yotei, I think they clearly know where it's that their bread is buttered. I think there's less emphasis on sneaky stuff this time around. No one is pretending this is like Splinter Cell Sengoku edition. If you get spotted, it isn't game over. It's game on. You basically like shrug, stand up, and think, "Oh no, guess I'll have to do the fun part now." Stealth is kind of just, forgive me, but the foreplay. Combat is the main event. My ideal sort of like rhythm became this: sneak in, obviously quietly, remove half the camp, inevitably mess up the timing, panic, and then end up just turning the entire area into a fireworks display of like blades, fire, and panicked yelling. It's chaotic, it's messy, it's bloody brilliant, which frankly just describes most of my gaming life. And then we've got like the big battles, like proper cinematic punch-ups that kind of make you feel like you've wandered into The Last Samurai, but with way fewer Tom Cruises and more arterial spray. They are massive, they are dramatic, they're full of the kind of duels that kind of make you instinctively sit forward and then start muttering, "This is the one," like a lunatic. The one-off fights, though, for me, are where this game shows off. You're chipping away at like stagger meters and praying you don't mistime a parry, because one mistake and you're on the floor faster than a Skyrim guard after a sneak arrow. But when you nail it, when you like perfect parry 3 strikes in a row, it is pure uncut dopamine. It's that same high you get from hitting a headshot in Halo 3 or pulling off a perfect combo in like Sekiro. Anyway, standoffs are back. So basically you've got these lovely, I've mentioned them a few times now, these lovely cinematic duels where essentially you square up, you breathe in, and then your time to strike just right. It's kind of part samurai ritual, part Red Dead Redemption duel, but part flex, because when you cut down 3 enemies in a single clean motion, you feel like you should be legally allowed to give a TED talk about precision. Now, if like me, you are having trouble early on in the game, like I'm playing on hard, it's brutal for the first couple of hours. Like, use your sake, use your throw blades, the ninja stuff like blinding powder, find wolf dens for like wolf abilities, and put in like a point into focus for arrows. You're not a samurai here, you're a vagabond with a revenge fetish. So just act like it, right? Embrace it. One of the smartest things that this game does, and what Tsushima absolutely nailed, is ditching the whole numbers go up RPG nonsense, right? There's no leveling up, no XP grind, no like plus 0.3% damage to enemies facing east on a Tuesday. Instead, the game quietly pats you on the head and says, "Get good, mate. Progression isn't about stats. It's about you actually learning how to get repeatedly impaled." It's revolutionary stuff. Atsu's skill trees are tied to shrines scattered across the map. It kind of makes wandering off actually feel purposeful instead of like open world busy work. You're not just hoovering up glowing dots, you're unlocking actual meaningful upgrades, like charms that grant proper perks, armor sets that accentuate specific play styles, and shiny cosmetics that let you kind of dress like a murderous fashion influencer. Even the weapon upgrades are mostly baked into side quests, which is a nice change from the usual like kill 10 bandits for a stick that glows slightly brighter. Some of Yotei's juiciest techniques, they are buried deep in those optional trees. And at first I thought, I'm going to have to complete every side quest in Japan to get a fancy dodge. But in practice, it does work, mostly because the side content's actually worth doing. It's like Witcher 3 logic. If the world's interesting, you do not mind taking that scenic route. Some quests, they do take wild turns, sort of like, so if I give you an example, 1 minute you're meditating at a shrine, and then the next you're in a duel that makes, I don't know, you're in a duel. Others drop you into massive brawls that just showcase just how confident the combat system is. And then there's one super boss that it kind of took me an hour and then enough retries to make me question my life choices. But you know it's serious when you start bargaining with inanimate objects. All right, controller, one more go, and then we're going to go to sleep, okay? But what really sells are the smaller stories along the way. You've got ghostly mysteries, outlaw hunts, weird local legends, all those little detours. They kind of remind you open worlds can be about discovery, not just icon hoovering. There's even respectful nods to history and culture, and it's handled properly, not in like an awkward, we've Googled this and shoved it in kind of way. Their traditions and myths, everything slots in naturally into Yotei's world, adding a real sense and place instead of just like a lore bloat. So while I guess part of me did roll my eyes, I guess having to chase side quests for the best abilities, the rest of me was having a good time. Too much of a good time doing it. I think if you're going to make me wander the map At least give me a reason, and Yotei delivers. It's like the devs finally cranked the code. Make side content actually fun, and we'll do it without a complaint. Well, minimal complaint. Like Tsushima before it, Yotei's map, it does this clever trick. It kind of pretends to be about discovery, all while nudging you in the right direction like a polite tour guide. There's no neon arrows or flashing quest markers screaming, go here now. Just the good old wind of navigation. You swipe up on the touchpad and there's a mystical, like, gust gently whispers, mate, you go in the wrong way again. It's subtle, it's stylish, and it's about like 1,000 times better than any other mini map covered in icons that looks like Google Maps during rush hour. Atsu's shamisen songs are like a lovely touch too. Proper multitasking that. You can whip it out mid-adventure to find collectibles, hot springs, or even just to vibe. It's essentially like Elden Ring's guiding grace if it were musical and mildly therapeutic. Plus, it neatly ties in with the whole music and family theme, which is a classy way of saying, yep, you're still hoovering up trinkets, but at least you're doing it in style. So I think some of the side activities still lean on the old, like, sort of Uncharted style climbing and parkour, hanging off cliffs like an unpaid stunt double. But at least it feels organic. The world doesn't feel like it's been designed by a committee with a spreadsheet titled things players must collect. It actually wants you to explore, not just tick boxes. I think as someone, I've spent so much time drowning in open worlds, I deeply appreciate Yotei's restraint. I think the maps split into zones. It still feels massive without being bloated. It's big enough to get lost in, not so big that you need annual leave to clear it. You're encouraged to wander and soak in the atmosphere and let the story, or more likely the vengeance-fueled rage, carry you forward. Upon reflection, because that's what we do when we play new games, we reflect. I probably should have taken like the whole week off work. All of the hours I've put in so far, I don't feel like I've done that much. It's insane because all I basically want to do is just put the sword away and explore while these like lo-fi beats hum away. It's ridiculously relaxing. Then there's the whole like vibe options, which are an absolute chef's kiss. It's the kind of open world, it doesn't demand your attention. It earns your attention. You're not following markers, you're following the mood. It's less kind of checklist gaming and more vibe pilgrimage. And in an age where at the moment every map starts to feel like a second job, it's as refreshing as like going for a nice cold pint after work. I think Ghost of Yotei, it might not be tearing up the rule book. I don't think it has to. It's this beautifully crafted story. It's told with style, weight, a little bit of that good old-fashioned samurai melodrama we secretly love. And you've obviously got Atsu. I spent a long time hyping her up. She's a fiery, optional vigilante with the emotional range of a 3-year-old. I do think, though, it begs the question, and I've kind of touched on it, of like, how many hours realistically do you have to put into a game? Like, do these huge games put you off or like make you feel down that you're not going to get them completed as in the same time frame that you would have done when you were like, 17, 18? Anyway, if you decide to get this game, I'd love to know, if you're already playing this game, maybe I'd love to know your experience of it. Are you playing on hard mode like me? Like where are you at? Like, let's talk. Anyway, I'm only going to implore you one time to please do all those things you need to do to support my channel, and I hope to see you in the next video.